What's up, y'all? It's your girl J Renee with Hip Hop Humanism and Hip Hop Humanism Radio. I hope that you're doing well. Today we get to interview a fine brother. His name is D.Son. Okay, he's up in Chicago and he has an initiative. It's called the Stay Relentless Life and Hip Hop Initiative. So, how you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you?
I'm doing pretty well. I definitely can't complain. I want to thank you for taking some time to sit down with us. You know, we definitely like to reach out to those that are putting in the work and giving back to their community. So we want to thank you for that, as well as, sitting down with us.
For sure. I definitely appreciate you guys reaching out, man. This is dope. You know what I mean? Like I enjoy doing stuff like this. So it's all love for me.
All right, for sure. That's one love then. All right, so let me ask you this. When did you discover the power of hip hop?
Um, like pretty much as a youth, I grew up on, my brother was a big super duper hip hop fan. I mean like a super duper hip hop fan. I mean like a hip hop purist. So
Okay.
The Big Daddy Kane's, the Rakims,
Right.
the Nas and the Big L's, and stuff like that. He was a real hip hop purist, and he turned me on to what I believe was the single most important piece of art for me at the time.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me a double disc Rakim CD, which had basically like the best of hits of Rakim on there. And at the time, I was more so of like a modern hip hop type of guy, So
Okay.
I think at the time around, it was like a really big 2000s, mid 2000s fad, with like
Okay.
the Christmas and the things of that nature. I didn't really give like old school hip hop a chance because
Right,
I
okay.
wasn't really born then.
I got you.
So I sat back and I listened to this Rakim double disc CD, man. It changed everything for me, from his content to his lyrics, his delivery, to his song structure, to the feel. Because at the end of the day, hip hop and music, what it is, it's a vibe. Like it's
Right.
it's a real vibe. It's an energy.
Right.
And ever since then, I guess I just kind of just saw like just the power and just like in Rakim's and Eric B, their artistic structure.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going back and looking for more old school stuff.
Right.
And ever since then, I kind of really been intertwined with hip hop, not just as a genre, but as a culture.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely more than just music. It's definitely a culture. I realized the power of hip hop when I could see how music could just change, just trends and everything, So it's definitely very, very powerful tool. So let me ask you, with your initiative, it includes hip hop and stuff. So what motivated you to first start this initiative and then to include hip hop in it?
Well, I'm a hip hop artist. I was a hip hop artist first.
Okay.
I started doing music, and I started doing music back when I was in college. Like when I got into school and things like that nature. I was always a gifted writer. And this is going back to like grammar school. This is going back to like grammar school. At the time, I was just writing like short stories, poems, and things of that nature. As I got into high school and things like that, I wasn't the most attentive. I wasn't really a fan of like school. So I would sit in the back and I would like start writing rhymes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And as I got older, I reached college and things of that nature. I was in a position where, I feel like the writing that I had was a real tool, a real gift, a real talent. And I feel like I had already let one of my talents go to waste, which was sports. I was a real avid sports player. Growing up, I was a 3-tool sport player. I played every sport growing up, but my 3 tools was basketball, football, and baseball. I was very gifted in all 3 of them, and I didn't pursue neither one of them for, lack of ambition, lack of drive. And that pushed me to actually move towards really using my writing, my gift for writing, into trying to do something else. So I, with the help of others and some great support, I started doing music, and I started creating songs and going into the studio and performing on stages and things of that nature.
Right.
But one of the things that, we learn as an underground hip hop artist and as a hip hop artist coming up, through the what we like to call the Chitlin circuit, everybody can't get on, just like sports. Everybody's not going to make it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to have an opportunity to be on the radio, to be on billboards, and rock Madison Square Garden and things of that nature. So, enter what I started doing, what I've always been doing also is mentorship. I've always, and I grew up in the Park District of Chicago, which was a very big thing for us, coming from the streets of Chicago, poverty, violence, gangs, and things of that nature. The Park District was like that center hub that kept us kids out of the streets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so as I aged out of the Park District, I always wanted to stay in the Park District, so I started volunteering. So as I was volunteering, I started realizing my gift for mentorship. So the gift of mentorship actually came before me creating music. And I was at a point in my life as a musician where it was like, okay, I'm not getting any younger. This thing isn't popping off as I would like it to. People know I rap. People know I'm dope. I got a lot of accolades under my belt. But I want a little bit more because I might not ever get a chance to sign that big record deal, that big record contract. But I also had a love for mentorship, and I wanted to really, really put some energy into that. So I was trying to think of ways I can involve both. How can I still give back to the community, give back to these kids, create resources for these kids, but at the same time still fulfill my passion for hip hop?
Right.
And I ended up fusing them both together and created the Like the Hip Hop initiative, and that's how that was born.
Wow. See, that's really dope. That's really dope. So how was the process when creating this initiative? Did you find that it was hard? Was it easy? What was the process?
That's honestly, and I tell people this all the time. Stay Relentless was almost 10 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
It was a situation where originally, before, my goal was to, I guess you could say my goal was to create a youth male empowerment organization called Sunshine Rise. And it was going to be in the development of young men and character development, youth leadership, and work ethic. So that was the original plan, and I put together this really big mission statement and this big packet of ideas and things I want to do with it, and that was originally going to be a nonprofit that I was going to do, and this was probably back in 2014 maybe, like 2014, 2013 maybe, but I never went through with it, right? So with everything that's been transpiring over the last year, because Stay Relentless isn't a year yet, I birthed it in April in the BBK 501c3 in June 29th of 2020. Everything was going on at this time around this time last year. COVID had just hit. You had the police brutality going on, the racial injustice, the riots, the looting. All of this stuff was going on. All of this stuff was going on literally at the same time. And I'm just sitting on my couch, and I'm like, my spirit was just moving. I was working at the time. I was working security full time. I was a field supervisor. But my spirit was just kind of moving me. I wanted to get back to work with kids and get in the community because I felt like this was the perfect time with everything that was going on. And I would see all the time on social network and talking to different people. People would talk about how there's no resources for our time, for our people, and I got tired of complaining about it being a lack of resources, and I feel like, okay, if you think there's no resources out here, get off your behind and create one. So I felt like it was the perfect time. So I literally woke up like 5 o'clock one morning and said, I'm starting a nonprofit.
Okay.
Like literally, that's how it happened. no exaggeration. I woke up like 5 o'clock one morning and said, I'm about to start a nonprofit. I thought about it. I sat back between 5 and 6 a.m. I came up with the name, with the name for it. And Stay Relentless was always engraved in my brand because for me, staying relentless is about pursuing goals and dreams, ambitions, aspirations, no matter what the obstacle, no matter what the pros or the cons. You got to always keep pushing every single day. Right. You have to relentlessly push to achieve what you want to become.
Right.
And I ended up creating an entire brand that entire day. put up the, did all the paperwork, applied for the 501c out my own money, filled out the application, did everything with the state, with the attorney general. I did all of this stuff in one day. I did all this stuff in one day because my spirit was just moving, and I knew it was just time, and that was my calling. And then the next day, I put in my 2 weeks for my job and said, this is what I'm going to do full time. And that's how that process happened.
Wow. Dang, that's dope as hell, bro. I'm glad, and I'm glad that you're succeeding, definitely. Usually when it comes from the heart, it thrives, So when it comes to your program, I wanted to talk about the initiative. I want to talk about your mission statement so we could talk a little more about that. So it says you have the goal to empower and inspire younger generations through various forms of hip-hop, art therapy, and entrepreneurship to foster life skills for the present and future success. So we've been talking a lot about, hip-hop, but tell us a little more about the art therapy and the entrepreneurship. And why you felt like that was an important part of it.
I feel like art therapy is essential because, let's just call it a spade, being African American, right? We have a lot of tools, right? And we have a lot of tools at our disposal that a lot of times we don't use, whether that's a talent or whether that's just a natural resource, like a park district or a school or things of that nature, correct? In art therapy, what it is, it's about how can we take these emotions that we feel, whether that's family issues, relationship issues, friend issues. How can we take this ball of emotions and use it and manifest it into something creative and use it as a constructive and creative outlet? I feel like there's a lot of times in our community, when things go wrong, we either hide or we do the most radical thing opposed to trying to figure out what we can do, how to really properly execute those emotions that we go through. So when we talk about art therapy is really about, what resources, what can we provide for these kids or for the community where they can literally use it as a creative outlet.
Right.
You create these resources to basically deal with our emotions, because therapy, I think that's a really, not only is it a broad term, I feel like it's something that we don't take serious enough in African American community. We see BS happen in our hoods all the time. A lot of us grew up in some crazy environments, drugs, sex, gangs, and things of that nature. So when you see it on the regular, it almost desensitizes you. Like all of a sudden, it's the norm for you. In reality, that's not normal, and it shouldn't be normal. Because you see gangs affecting your neighborhood does not mean you have to run to that lifestyle. It has to be another way. Right. So for me, creating these resources for kids to become a positive in their environment, to create being a product of their environment, to create that in a way to where they can strategically and emotionally groom something creative from that. I feel like that was important, and I feel like the best way to do that was to use hip-hop, because hip-hop is everything. Hip-hop is life. Hip-hop is music. It's culture. It's energy. You know what I mean? Right. So I feel like using hip-hop as a vehicle to get to the kids was the perfect way to kind of reel those kids in and to show them, like, hey, you don't have to resort to a life of crime, but you don't have to resort to all the perils that's going on in our hoods. Use that energy and use the resources around you in the hood to talk about these things. You might not be an artist, but maybe you might not be a hip hop artist, but maybe you could use that negative energy that you have towards people. Maybe you could use that energy and be a producer or something like that, or become a ghostwriter, or maybe be some type of fashion designer. So that was the main idea when it came to using art therapy as a form for that, and entrepreneurialism just fit right into that, because entrepreneurialism for me is, again, we talk about how we don't have these resources in the neighborhoods. Well, how do we create these resources in the African American Black neighborhood where we got to create more Black entrepreneurs?
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
when you create more black entrepreneurs, you can keep that black dollar in your hood. You know what I mean? You can put that black dollar, circulate that throughout the neighborhoods and the community and things of that nature. You know, you can buy more black when you create more black entrepreneurs. And then you can inspire others to want to be the same.
Right.
So
definitely.
that's how we went about that.
Yeah, programs like ours definitely support that. It's like we have to give these children an alternative. Like if they're growing up in a household and every man before them is in a gang, 9 out of 10 times that's the path they're gonna go. Especially if there's no alternative. You know, if no one,
Exactly.
you know, so
and it's no secret. You know, it's no secret. Like the more programs you have out here in these communities, the less times these kids are on the streets.
Exactly.
You know, so you have to provide the resources, provide the platform, and provide the platform and the podium for these kids to succeed and to grow up and to build these character traits that you want to see. I always live by the motto, you have to be the change that you want to see. I want to see the change in my community every single day. So I get up every single day and I make sure I'm busting my behind so I can try to create these resources so a little kid who has dreams and aspirations of doing X, Y, Z, no matter what that is, you know, they understand like, hey, that is possible. All you have to do is work, and all you got to do is just keep breathing that positive energy and not let anything come in between that. And if you do have something come in between that, there are artistic and creative ways for you to get around those obstacles.
Right.
And that's what we're about. That's what we're about.
Well, D.Son, I'm going to tell you, we definitely appreciate you. We see you up there doing big things. We wish you continued success. So, you know, let the people know how they can get in contact with you and see what you got going on and stuff.
Yeah, I run so many different entities. You can follow me on IG at DSONTL. You can follow me on Facebook. I just launched my fan page today, or should you say my public figure page at D.Son, D.Son. You can find me there. I don't really I haven't used my Twitter in years, but I still got it. So you can follow me there, DSONTL. If you want to know any more information about the Stay Relentless Life and Hip Hop Initiative, that's on all the socials as well, but you can definitely go to the website, Stay Relentless. LHH.com. Again, Stay Relentless, LHH.com. You can buy merch there. We ship it out. You can see just what we do, how we give it up for the kids, how we give it up for the community, donation options and things of that nature. And I also have a podcast owner, a podcast network owner. So people can get in tune with that, with the League of Extraordinary Chicagoans as well. So I'm highly accessible.
Definitely. All right. So y'all make sure y'all reach up to D.Son and see what he got going on. Link with him on Instagram and on his different platforms. Well, this is your girl J Renee with another interview for Hip Hop Humanism and Hip Hop Humanism Radio. And don't forget, hip hop is in the hood. Peace.